Welcome to the Franchising 360 Show, the only show that takes you inside the world of franchising, with hosts Tim Parmeter and Danielle Wright.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Franchising 360 Show. I am Tim Parmeter, and with me, as always, is Danielle Wright.
That's me.
Here on the Franchising 360 Show, we are taking a full 360-degree view of the franchising industry, what it's like to become a franchise owner. How do you find the best one to own? How do you succeed once you are an owner? Even how to take your existing franchise and turn it, or a business, and turn it into a franchise. And then today we got a whole other thing you didn't even know was a thing that we're going to get to with this. Looking forward to our guest, a good friend of ours, but
Yes.
Also something cool to the work. Well,
I love when
everybody's
we
kind of
have guests that we've known for a long time, and I love when we have guests that we don't know at all.
Right.
We're very diverse around here.
Yes, we just show up and start. We're in franchising. We just show up and we start talking.
We just start talking.
It's
Give
not
us a
that-
mic and we communicate.
It's not that complicated, and we want to get to our guest, but we've got to understand what the heck. Like, this is what we all tune in for at this point, is Danielle's franchise fun fact.
Okay, so it's a little less franchisey fact,
Okay.
but it kind of ties
Is
to.
it still fun?
Yeah, well, it ties to our guest
Okay.
because, I've gotten better about that.
Okay.
Like, who's the guest and how do we tie a fun fact? Okay, so there's a couple in this one. So say 1, 2, or 3.
3.
Okay. What is the percentage of discarded textiles that can be reused and recycled?
I like how you come up with things that there's not a chance in hell
That's
I am
the whole
going to
point.
get the answer. Like, and
That
I
is
feel
the
like we got
point.
to add into the shtick like a buzzer, so when I am wrong, which I will be wrong.
Yeah. Bink.
And this is a percentage.
It's a percentage.
So I've got a 1 in 100 chance.
Yes.
83%.
No, but pretty close.
Okay.
I was very gentle with you this time. I didn't just really go like, no, like, sorry. So 95 is the percent of discarded textiles. For those that don't know what that is, clothing, anything that can be reduced or reused or recycled. But only 15% of that 95% are actually recycled.
Oh.
That means we have 11 million tons of textile waste in the U.S.
That we just throw away.
We just throw away.
I mean, if it's your well-worn underwear, we don't need to recycle
Yeah, we don't need
those.
to recycle that.
Like,
But the average American throws away 84 pounds of clothing a year.
okay.
81 pounds. That's the size of a small child.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, that's a lot. And it also means stop buying crap. So
Yes.
there is that, which
But last, before we go into our guest, most people don't realize that clothing is actually one of the fastest growing waste categories in America.
and I wonder if that's going to have anything to do with our
Maybe,
guests.
just maybe.
So we
did have Kelly say that you can franchise anything.
You can
so
franchise
here we
anything.
are.
This is one you probably didn't know was
Didn't
a thing.
realize it.
But again, amazing opportunity, but also some other fun stuff we're going to get to with our guest right after this on the Franchising 360 Show. Hey, we are back on the Franchising 360 Show. Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright. And joining us is, just as simply put, franchise experts. Our good friend Chris Brown is here with us. Chris, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
We are excited to chat with you. Got a bunch. I've got like all of these note cards lined up literally just for you, Chris. So we got a bunch to chat about. Give us a quick. I always like kind of hearing people's stories, like talk about how you kind of got into the franchising world.
Oh, wow. Okay. I took the path of maybe I don't want to say pain, but I jumped in as a franchise owner about 25 years ago. I was a GM for a big facility in Los Angeles. I was working 90 hours a week, and I was like, there has to be a better way to generate revenue and make a living and build something for a future. And someone introduced me to franchising. It was a smoothie concept. I had the area development rights that I bought, and my family and I, we took everything we had, moved back to the East Coast, and I helped develop a region in the New York tri-state area. I happen to sell the franchise units themselves in addition to smoothies, and I sold the units better than I sold the smoothies. So that may tell you a little bit about me, but it led to a path of gradually and hopefully getting a little bit better at understanding what brand is and developing a brand and helping brands grow. And that's what I've done for the past roughly 15, 16 years of my life. I owned that brand for a while, sold it, and then started helping emerging brands grow.
You're looking at me for questions. What?
One of the brands that a lot of different brands you've been in, several different industries. I think there's a term in franchising that gets thrown around sometimes, and I don't know that it's 100% accurate. Like something passive, right? People feel like I just
What
kick
does that mean?
I just kick my feet up, and franchise makes me all that money. And there aren't very many things that I think even remotely touch that. But the one I had an opportunity to work with the last few years, kind of may fall into that. So talk to us a little bit about what this clothes bin franchise is.
Yeah, so it's Clothes Bin's a really special brand to me. I've had an opportunity to develop a number of brands, and you're right. Passive is a word that gets kicked around in our industry, and I think it's a tough description to put on a model. I don't think anything is passive. If it's passive, it's got to be managed by someone, or it sort of withers away, in my opinion. This brand, Clothes Bin, it's a green concept. We recycle clothes. Bins go into a community, and people donate clothes into those bins, and then the franchisee collects the clothes from those bins, and then we partner them with a buyer, and those clothes are purchased. And the good news is the clothes stay in the cycle; they're recycled, and the franchisee generates a nice return. And that return comes with very low labor. It's 1 to 2 people manage that business. The franchisee rarely, if ever, is the person that's doing that labor. They're sort of overseeing or monitoring the bins to make sure that they get serviced when they're full, but they do that remotely. So that's kind of cool in the sense that, they get a quality of life. They can be at a kid's football game. They could be coaching that football game. They could be, doing something with a family member, or just, working even, and at a lunch break, they get to do something like that. So about 4 to 6 hours, maybe 6 to 8 at the most, hours a week, they get the chance to, sort of manage their business remotely. And that's what we would call maybe a semi-passive opportunity. We're always managing relationships, and I think that's a big part of the success of a business anyway. So that's the model in a nutshell.
It's so unique and different. Like we have a lot of people asking about competition, right? And we've had a lot of different franchisors that have similar concepts, different but similar. What other competition is out there for a clothes bin franchise owner?
It's tough to call it competition. The brand and the segment itself is probably best known for the Goodwills and the Salvation Armies of the world. I think some churches may have some bins around, but for the most part, it's largely fragmented. There are a couple of sort of local brands that might be in different parts of the country, but there are very few, if any, national brands that do what we do. And so competition is really going to be, convenience is the number one reason why people place clothes in bins. And so the competition factor is really going to be, where you position the bin, and if it's in a good place, and if it's monitored, and if it's serviced, you're really competing with yourself. Just do a really good job of doing those few things, and the system does reward the franchisee with clothes.
And it's one somebody may have been a customer of and not even realized it. And again, it's if you think of some of the quote competition of they're not always the prettiest looking things out there. You're like, ooh, I don't even want to pull on the handle. And as someone who has pulled the handle on the clothes bin and donated things numerous times, it's like it's safe. It's a clean environment. It just again, like there's something to be said. I think in franchising, typically there's always a a higher level of quality, and even on something as simple as this. And then I know there's a whole kind of tech platform behind it as well, right?
Yeah, so I always like to reduce, or not reduce, but simplify when I'm describing a brand and a model, why is it a franchise? Like what makes it franchisable? And the two really strong components of this model that make it franchisable. One's going to be the network of buyers that buy the clothes once they collect them. But the thing that is probably most significant is the technology. There's a device located within each bin that connects with an app, and that app is for the franchisee to monitor either on their phone or on a computer, a laptop. And when it's on the screen, I think it's a much bigger screen for folks who have to wear glasses like me. It makes it a lot more visible, but for convenience sake, it's on their phone. And so all they do is basically they monitor is that bin full, what degree of fullness. It's sort of a green, yellow, red measuring device. And then when that bin is full, there's also mapping software on there. There's data entry. There's a communication tool that the driver or collector of the clothes, like one that goes around in a truck and collects those clothes from the bins, they actually have a device on their phone too. So they're notified whenever that shift or whenever that 8 to 10 of those bins are ready to be serviced. So it is largely a remote device. It communicates really well with the not only the franchisor but the team that works for them.
I'm just like, there are so many questions. And so because we are coming up to like, hey, they're going to make me go to commercial, and you've built brands and you've worked with a lot of emerging brands, what was the thing that said, hey, this is a brand that I want to put my stamp on and I want to work with, when you have the opportunity to work with multiple franchise options?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think franchise brands, they have to have a really clear message, and they have to be scalable, and they have to have really strong systems. And a part of that system is the support, the people involved. This brand's been around for 8 years. The concept and the segment and this actual company has been around for almost 30 years. So they had relationships involved or already with regards to buyers, and they had the technology piece that was in place. What they did have, and this is kind of interesting, what they had before they started the franchise was they had about 1,000 bins out in the community, and they would collect the clothes from those bins, and they had 10 thrift stores throughout the Southeast too, where they would sell those clothes. When Nick and Mark, the two owners of the brand, came together, they decided to simplify the model and eliminate the retail part of it, but keep the bins and keep the buyer network, the buyers that would buy the clothes that were left over from the stores, together. And so they simplified the model. So you've got simplicity. You've got an opportunity where there's a large market, so you can scale up. They can put up to 60 to 80 bins in a market, and then they had all the systems in place to monitor, measure, and grow the brand. So that's one of the reasons I really loved it, among others. I like the team. I think they're really good people. I think it's a green concept, and I gravitate towards that too. So
Love it. So we got something totally different to talk about, Chris, with both you and Danielle when we come back here after the break on the Franchising 360 show. Welcome back, everyone, to the Franchising 360 show. Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright and our guest, Chris Brown. Chris, we talked a lot about kind of your background in clothesbin in the first segment, but I want to talk to really, like, you guys are both kind of my guests now, and something that is being developed, no pun intended, but a kind of a new concept in franchising called Develop. Tell us a little bit about what this is, guys.
Who's going to jump in first?
Well, Chris is the guest.
I'm
start
just
with
here.
Chris.
Let Chris go.
I was going to say, you don't get to talk that much, Danielle, so I'll go ahead and jump in.
It's totally
anyway,
fine. I talk enough as is.
Yeah, so we talked, like, one of the reasons that I'm here is, someone showed me how to do this, and someone taught actually Danielle and me how to do this too. We have a little bit of a history. We kind of got into the industry about the same time. But what we've created in Develop Academy is it's a a platform, a place to train the next generation of developers. People who know, people who don't know, people who may be familiar with the segment, people who may not be familiar with the segment. And in addition to that, work with those of us who are already in the segment and help make them better, us better, if you will. We've developed a community. I'll let Danielle talk a little bit about that too, more of a social platform, but it feeds into and is fed by Develop Academy.
Yeah, so for anyone watching, right, and you're a part of this too, Tim, in some capacity, we were lucky enough to, and I think on this show, we talked to a lot of different people. We had someone that was in our mastermind group just recently on the show as well. And we all really kind of thrive in franchising by having that connectivity, the ability to talk to somebody else. Tim, like we've talked about franchise owners needing to talk to one another and the growth of that. And so how do we take all of this education, this experience, and put it into something that we can train others? Like none of us on this channel right now are getting any younger. And then who's developing the next generation? We all kind of stumbled into it in our late 20s, early 30s. Here we are. And it has been the best experience of my life from a career perspective. So how do we help people like Tim, right? You've got consultants at Fran Coach. How do we train them to be better consultants? How do what Chris and I do represent more brands and help them grow and find themselves and find the right owners? They don't know. I mean, we talk to a lot of franchisors regularly that have absolutely no clue how to grow their business. Take this training. So the Academy is really meant to be an all-encompassing one-stop shop to better educate yourself to franchise sales specifically. And then we have what we call the Develop Plus community. So it is an app that you can go in and ask questions. It's monitored, obviously. We don't want people going crazy in that space, but it's really meant for those in the franchise industry to communicate with other people in the franchise industry. Hey, Tim, you may be on there. I want to ask a broker consultant question. Hey, Chris may be in there, has ownership experience being a franchisee, but has a development background. We have marketing people, we have operations support staff, we have suppliers. Like we forget a lot about brands can't survive without supplier partners, and it's really a medium for everyone to come together and share those experiences, ask questions without any judgment whatsoever.
It's kind of like when you're a franchise owner, you have other franchise owners, you have the franchisor that's going to support you. When you're in the industry, outside of that, you kind of tend to be on an island a little bit. And that's what I love about what this is all going to be. Plus, it gives people an opportunity. Hey, maybe I'd love to be in franchise and this seems cool.
Yeah, maybe I don't want to own a business.
But I don't want to own one.
Right.
Or we've had somebody else, when Kelly Schroeder was on, I worked in it and then I owned it.
Yep.
And how do you keep getting better and grow? And so I love what this is going to be.
Yeah, and Chris and I have known each other for a very long period of time, and he has a strong background and worked in a lot of different franchises with a lot of different industries. I mean, we could name drop a couple of them if you'd like to. And it seemed like a really great opportunity for us to kind of give back. So kind of tying it to the clothesbin space, it's reduce, reuse, recycle, right? But for us, it's you're at an inflection in your career to how do I give back and let other people have this amazing life experience that this industry has given us.
Well, and Chris, you know this from when we all kind of got started roughly at the same time. You're and Chris is literally one of the first people I met in person in franchising way back when, and have a random town in North Carolina that we connected over. And so, but you know so many people in this industry that on almost none of them got into it by design. Right. And so for you, do you see Develop Academy being a way to bring in that next wave of people?
Yeah, I think, you just touched on something that we haven't even talked about. How did we all get into this industry, right? No one, I didn't set out for it. I told you my inflection point was just the pain of not being able to watch my daughter grow up, or the house that we had just purchased, spend any time in it and things like that. So we all have our reasons for getting into this industry. I guarantee, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know it existed. And so I think that, what Danielle was just talking about, sharing this with others, the giving back part of it is just us making people aware of the concept. And for those of us who are in this industry, a lot of the people who are developers today or who have come into this space have only been with the brand that they entered the space in, with. And so what it would give people is an added layer, a lot of added layers actually, of exposure to others in the industry, other resources. I like to refer to this as maybe a bit of a think tank group where we're able to leverage each other's experience and then grow from that. I'm a huge believer in mastermind groups and things of that nature. This where we bounce ideas off of each other, but also, to what Danielle was talking about earlier. There's a lot of proactive, not only education, but weekly pieces that we'll have that will focus in on different parts, different elements that we want to emphasize, just to add value to not only their membership and involvement with Develop and Develop Plus, but also in the industry itself too. So
it's the most non-competitive industry from a standpoint of we could all be at 3 different places, and we are, right? But still be open to one another to help them get better. Because once you get to a point, it's hard you're not at the entry level stuff, and education is based on entry level or the bottom. Once you start to rise up, and even the name, like, how do you continue to develop? Yep. Well, you go to the Develop Academy with this. So, Danielle, and we'll flash this up on the screen too. How does somebody find this?
Simple. It's developacademy.com.
But wait, you can't spell.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
There's more. Develop is not the traditional spelling. So we pulled out one of the E's, and so it's DVELOP, academy.com. We'll make sure that it's popped up on the screen. But we're all super excited, and it's brand new. So
Chris, in our last few seconds here, again, you've been multiple brands, you've been a franchise owner. Somebody out there now watching this show, like, oh my gosh, is this for me? Franchising in general, whether an owner or from a career standpoint, what's maybe a piece of advice you would give somebody?
Do your due diligence. I think, I got into this business, and this is a good part. This is a good story. It may not sound like it, but I got involved with this brand. It probably wasn't ready to grow the way it did, or for us to invest in it and move across the country. And I would encourage people just to do their due diligence and trust your instinct. I think there's an element of this that we listen to lawyers and we listen to people who are advisors, and at the end of the day, if it's something you resonate with, if it's something that's true to your heart, and go for it. But it has to be scalable. It has to have a good brand story, and it has to have infrastructure to grow.
There you go. I love it. Chris, thank you. Always great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Franchising 360 show.
Thanks for having me. That's great.
Thanks again for watching the Franchising 360 show, brought to you by Fran Coach. Danielle and I hope these episodes continue to educate you on the franchise industry. In between our episodes, if you would like to learn more about franchising and the ways in which Fran Coach can help, there are a few places you should check out. First, be sure to listen to the award-winning Franchising 101 podcast. You can find this on Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Next, check out the Fran Coach YouTube channel, Fran Coach for You. You can catch past episodes of the Franchising 360 show, plus tons of other content. If you like to read, we encourage you to check out the book, Becoming a Franchise Owner. And finally, when you are ready to take that first personalized step and explore franchise industry further, please reach out to our amazing team at Fran Coach. There is never any fee for our service, so let us help you create your better tomorrow. Until next week, for Danielle Wright, I'm Tim Parmeter. Thanks for tuning in to the Franchising 360 show.